First Contact Protocol, Smile, and Wave Captain Alina Vasquez was enjoying her morning coffee aboard the orbital station. New horizon when her peaceful Tuesday turned into the most extraordinary day in human history. The steaming mug never made it to her lips as every alarm in the command center erupted simultaneously. "Captain, you need to see this," Lieutenant Sarah Kim called from the communications array, her voice carrying that particular tone that meant either very good news or very bad news. Alina had learned to prepare for the latter. Alina floated over to the main display, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal deck plates. What she saw made her pause mid-step. 500 ships had just materialized around Earth, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They hung in space like sleeping giants, their dark hulls absorbing starlight and giving nothing back. "How long have they been there?" Alina asked, settling into her command chair. "They decloaked exactly 3 minutes ago," Sarah replied, her fingers dancing across her console. All at once, perfectly synchronized. No prior detection, no energy signatures, nothing. It's like they just wished themselves into existence. Alina studied the tactical display. The ships were arranged in a perfect sphere around Earth, maintaining precise distances from each other. Each vessel was roughly the size of a small city, bristling with what could only be weapons arrays. Despite their obvious military nature, they weren't moving toward Earth. They were just waiting. "Any communication attempts?" Alina asked. "That's the interesting part," Sarah said, pulling up another screen. "They're broadcasting on every frequency we use, but they're not trying to contact us. They're listening. It's like they're studying our radio chatter." Dr. Marcus Chen, the station's xenobiologist, pulled himself into the command center with practiced ease. He'd been studying the possibility of first contact for 20 years, but Alina could see the excitement and terror warring in his eyes. "This is it," he said simply. "First contact. How's Earth responding?" Alina checked the Earthlink feeds and couldn't help but smile. Pretty much exactly how you'd expect humans to respond to something unprecedented. The main screen switched to a compilation of Earth's reaction. News anchors were trying to maintain professional composure while obviously struggling with the magnitude of the situation. Social media had exploded with everything from genuine fear to memes about alien visitors. Someone had already created a live stream called Alien Ship Watching that had gained 3 million viewers in 10 minutes. "Look at this," Sarah said, highlighting a particular feed. "There's a guy in Tokyo who set up a hot dog stand specifically to sell to the alien visitors. He's got a sign that says, 'Welcome to Earth, try our food.'" Alina shook her head in amazement. Only humans would see a potentially hostile alien fleet and think business opportunity. That's when the aliens decided to make their first move. Every screen in the command center flickered as an incoming transmission overrode all other signals. The image that appeared was both magnificent and terrifying. The creature that faced them stood nearly 8 feet tall, its body covered in what appeared to be natural armor plating that shimmered with an inner light. Its face was angular and sharp, with eyes that glowed like amber coals. When it spoke, its voice carried the authority of absolute command. "Inhabitants of the third planet," the being began, its words somehow perfectly translated into every human language simultaneously. "I am Admiral Kethfa of the Hegemony Fleet. Your world has been selected for integration into our empire. You have 72 hours to prepare for peaceful transition to hegemony rule. Resistance will be met with appropriate force." Alina expected panic, She expected emergency broadcasts and military mobilization. Instead, she watched as humanity did something completely unexpected. They started asking questions. "Excuse me," came a voice from Houston Mission Control, "but what exactly does integration mean? Are we talking about a cultural exchange program, or more of a hostile takeover situation?" The Admiral's expression shifted slightly, as if the question had confused him. "Integration means your species will serve the hegemony in whatever capacity we deem appropriate." "Okay, but what about our existing governments?" Another voice chimed in from the European Space Agency. "Do we get to keep our local leadership, or are you planning a complete administrative overhaul?" Alina watched the Admiral's face and saw something she hadn't expected: uncertainty. This wasn't how the conversation was supposed to go. "Your primitive political structures will be dissolved," the Admiral said, his voice carrying less confidence than before. "That's a shame," came a new voice from the Australian Deep Space Network. "We were hoping you might want to observe our democratic processes. We've got an election coming up next month, and it's going to be quite a show. Nothing like watching humans argue about policy to understand our species." The Admiral looked off-screen for a moment, as if consulting with someone. Alina realized that the aliens were as unprepared for this conversation as humanity was for their arrival. Dr. Chen leaned forward in his chair. "Captain, I don't think they were expecting us to be so conversational." "What do you mean?" "Look at their body language. They came here expecting to terrify us into submission. Instead, we're treating this like a diplomatic meeting. They're not sure how to handle it." Alina opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is Captain Vasquez, aboard. New Horizon. I recommend we continue the current approach. Keep them talking, keep them guessing." The Admiral's voice returned to the channel, but now there was an edge of frustration. "This is not a negotiation. This is a declaration of your new reality. You will surrender your weapons, your technology, and your independence." "Well," came a cheerful voice from the International Space Station, "that's certainly one option. But have you considered our counterproposal?" The Admiral's eyes widened. "Counterproposal? We'd like to invite you to a welcome party," the voice continued. "We've never had galactic visitors before, and we're quite excited to meet you. We're thinking a cultural exchange. You can tell us about your civilization, we'll tell you about ours. We'll provide food, entertainment, and accommodation. What do you say?" Alina had to admire the audacity. Instead of surrendering or fighting, humanity was trying to turn an invasion into a diplomatic reception. The Admiral's image flickered for a moment, and Alina caught a glimpse of another alien in the background. This one was smaller, with more delicate features, frantically gesturing at screens covered in what looked like data. "This is ... irregular," the Admiral said finally. "The hegemony does not attend parties with species we are conquering."
Oh.
"But you're not conquering us," the voice replied cheerfully. "You're visiting us. There's a difference. Conquerors destroy things. Visitors learn things. Which would you prefer to be?" Alina watched the Admiral's face cycle through several emotions, none of them entirely pleasant. Behind him, she could see more aliens gathering, apparently engaged in heated discussion. "You do not understand your situation," the Admiral said, his voice rising. "We have 500 warships. We have technology beyond your comprehension. We have conquered 1,000 worlds." "That's impressive," came the reply. "But have you ever tried pizza?" The channel went silent for a full 30 seconds. Alina could practically hear the aliens trying to process the question. "What?" the Admiral said slowly, is pizza. It's a food, bread, cheese, tomato sauce, various toppings. It's quite good. We think you'd enjoy it. Alina watched the Admiral turn to his companions, engaging in what appeared to be a frantic discussion in their own language. When he turned back, his expression had shifted from commanding to genuinely confused. Offer us... food. Well, yes. It's traditional when welcoming visitors. We also have music, art, games, and some really fascinating architecture. New York's skyline is particularly impressive at night. The Admiral looked like he was developing a headache. This is not how conquests proceed. Well, no, the voice agreed. This is how first contact proceeds. Two species meet, they exchange greetings, they share some food, they learn about each other. It's much more civilized than the whole conquest thing. Alina realized that humanity had just done something remarkable. They'd taken a situation where they were completely outmatched and turned it into a conversation where they held all the cards. The aliens had come prepared for war or surrender, but not for an invitation to dinner. The Admiral's image flickered again, and Alina caught sight of more aliens gathering in the background. Their body language suggested heated debate. Asterisk. We require time to consider your proposal, the Admiral said finally. Of course, the voice replied. Take all the time you need. We'll be here when you're ready. Oh, an Admiral. Welcome to Earth. We hope you enjoy your stay. The channel closed, leaving Alina staring at a screen full of alien warships that had Crimplanned somehow transformed from an invasion fleet into unexpected guests. Sarah, Alina said, get me a direct line to Earth Command. I think we're about to make history. What kind of history? Sarah asked. Alina smiled. The kind where nobody gets conquered, everybody gets fed, and we all learn something new about the universe. Asterisk, how to win a war without fighting 48 hours after the hegemony's arrival. Alina found herself in the most surreal situation of her career. She was standing in the main docking bay of New Horizon, wearing her dress uniform and waiting to welcome an alien delegation that had come to conquer Earth but was now attending what amounted to a cosmic dinner party. Status report, she said into her comm unit. 3 hegemony shuttles are approaching, Sarah reported from the command center. They're broadcasting diplomatic protocols on all frequencies. I think they're as nervous as we are. Alina had to smile at that. The past 2 days had been a whirlwind of activity as Earth's governments scrambled to organize the most important diplomatic event in human history. The aliens had agreed to send a delegation to Earth's surface, but only after extensive negotiations about everything from atmospheric compatibility to dietary requirements. Any word from Earth's command about the reception preparations? Alina asked. Everything's ready, Sarah replied. The welcome ceremony is set for Central Park in New York. They've got representatives from every major nation, plus scientists, artists, musicians, and about 50 of the world's best chefs. Alina shook her head. Only humans would respond to an alien invasion by throwing a potluck dinner. The first shuttle docked with a barely audible thud. Alina watched as the airlock cycled, wondering what the next few hours would bring. The door opened, and Admiral Kethver stepped through, followed by 2 companions. Up close, the aliens were even more impressive than their holographic images had suggested. The Admiral moved with the fluid grace of a natural predator, his armor plating catching the light as he walked. His companions were different species. Entirely, one resembled a walking crystal formation, while the other looked like someone had given intelligence to a tree. "Admiral Kethva," Alina said, stepping forward with her hand extended. "Welcome aboard New Horizon. I'm Captain Alina Vasquez." The Admiral stared at her extended hand for a moment, then slowly reached out and grasped it. His grip was surprisingly gentle for someone who could probably crush her bones without effort. "Captain Vasquez," he said, his voice carrying the same authority as before, but with an undercurrent of uncertainty. "This is not what we expected." "First contact rarely is," Alina replied. "Allow me to introduce Dr. Marcus Chen, our xenobiologist, and Lieutenant Sarah Kim, our communications officer." The Admiral's companions stepped forward. The crystal being spoke with a voice like wind chimes. "I am Zixtal, intelligence officer of the Hegemony Fleet. This is Grutha, our cultural specialist." Alina had to suppress a smile at the tree-like alien's name. "It's an honor to meet you all. Shall we head to Earth? I think you'll find our planet quite interesting." The journey to Earth's surface was conducted in relative silence, with the aliens staring out the shuttle's viewports at the blue-green world below. Alina watched their faces and saw something she hadn't expected. "Wonder, your planet is beautiful," Zixtal said softly. "The energy patterns are unlike anything we've encountered." "Thank you," Alina replied. "We're quite fond of it ourselves." The shuttle touched down in Central Park just as the sun was setting over Manhattan. Alina had seen the city skyline thousands of times, but seeing it through alien eyes made her appreciate it anew. The lights were coming on across the urban landscape, creating a tapestry of illumination that stretched to the horizon. "Welcome to Earth," she said as they disembarked. The aliens stood in the middle of the park, slowly turning to take in their surroundings. Thousands of humans had gathered for the event, but they maintained a respectful distance. The atmosphere was more festival than military confrontation. Ambassador Thorne approached, his weathered face carrying the kind of smile that had diffused international incidents. "Admiral Kesvar, welcome to our world. I'm Ambassador Thorne. I'll be your guide for this evening." The Admiral looked around, at the crowd, the lights, the food stations that had been set up throughout the park. "This is not what we expected," he said again. "What did you expect?" Ambassador Thorne asked. "Fear," the Admiral replied simply. "Panic, desperate attempts at resistance. We have conquered 1,000 worlds, and they all responded with terror." "Well," Ambassador Thorne said, "we're humans. We don't really do terror very well. We prefer curiosity." As if to prove his point, a small group of children approached, their eyes wide with wonder. Their parents followed nervously, but the children showed no fear as they gathered around the aliens. "Are you really from space?" a little girl asked, looking up at the Admiral. The Admiral knelt down to her level, his expression softening. "Yes, little one, we are from very far away. Do you have kids like us on your planet?" The Admiral paused, and Alina saw something shift in his expression. "We do, though they are very different from you." "Do they like to play games?" "I believe they do." Alina watched the exchange and realized something profound was happening. The Admiral wasn't just talking to a human child. He was remembering his own children, his own world, his own reasons for fighting. The cultural exchange began in earnest as the sun finished setting. The aliens were introduced to human music, art, and cuisine. Alina watched as Zixtal became fascinated by jazz, the complex rhythms resonating with his crystalline structure. Grutha spent an hour discussing botany with Earth's leading plant scientists, comparing notes on photosynthesis across different star systems. But it was Admiral Kethva who underwent the most dramatic transformation. As the evening progressed, Alina watched him shed his military bearing and become genuinely curious about human culture. "Your species is remarkable," he said to Alina, as they watched a group of musicians perform. "We expected primitives, but you have created something we've never seen before." "What's that?" Alina asked. "Unity without conquest," the Admiral replied. "Every species we've encountered has either been conquered or has done the conquering. You've created a world where hundreds of different cultures exist together without any single dominant empire." Alina nodded. "It's not always easy, but it's worth it. Diversity makes us stronger." The Admiral was quiet for a moment. "Our intelligence reports were incomplete." "What do you mean?" "We thought you were a primitive species with basic technology. We didn't realize you were a primitive species with advanced wisdom." Alina felt a chill of understanding. "You're not just conquerors, are you? You're looking for something." The Admiral's expression grew somber. "The hegemony is dying, Captain. We have 1,000 worlds, but we're losing our identity. Each conquest makes us more like the species we've absorbed. We came here expecting to add another world to our empire, but instead you found something you hadn't seen before," Alina finished. "Yes, a species that chooses cooperation over conquest. A world that celebrates differences instead of eliminating them." As the evening continued, Alina realized that humanity had won a victory that went beyond avoiding conquest. They had shown the aliens something they had forgotten. That strength didn't have to come from domination. The turning point came when Ambassador Thorne stood up to address the gathering. "Friends," he said, his voice carrying across the park, "tonight we've shared food, music, and stories. We've learned that despite our differences, we have more in common than we thought. The hegemony came here as conquerors, but I'd like to propose they leave as allies." The crowd erupted in applause, but Alina was watching the aliens. Admiral Kethva was staring at the ground, his hands clenched into fists. When he looked up, there were tears in his eyes. "You would offer alliance to those who came to conquer you?" he asked. "We would offer friendship to those who are willing to learn," Ambassador Thorne replied. "Your technology, combined with our approach to cooperation, could create something unprecedented in the galaxy." The Admiral stood slowly, his full height imposing even without his earlier aggression. "The hegemony has rules about conquest. We cannot simply abandon our mission." "Then don't," Alina said, stepping forward. "Complete your mission. You came here to integrate Earth into your empire. So do it, but make it a partnership, not a conquest. Let Earth be the first world to join the hegemony as equals." The Admiral stared at her for a long moment, then began to laugh. It was a sound like distant thunder, but somehow warm. "You would turn conquest into diplomacy. We would turn enemies into friends," Alina replied. "It's what we do." The Admiral looked around the park, at the humans and aliens mingling together, at the children playing games with beings from distant stars, at the musicians teaching alien melodies to human instruments. "Very well," he said finally. "Let this be the first world to join the hegemony through choice rather than force. But know this, you will change us as much as we change you." Alina smiled. "We're counting on it." As the celebration continued, into the night, Alina stood with Admiral Kethva, watching humans and aliens learning from each other. The invasion fleet still hung in orbit, but they were no longer conquerors. They were partners in something that had never existed before. A truly voluntary galactic civilization. "You know," the Admiral said, "in all our conquests, We never thought to ask the species we encountered what they wanted to teach us. And we never thought we'd have the chance to teach it, Alina replied. I think this is going to be the beginning of something extraordinary. The Admiral nodded, his gaze fixed on the stars. Yes, something unprecedented, something that might save us all. Alina raised her coffee cup in a toast. To the future, Admiral, whatever it brings. The Admiral raised his own cup, filled with a human beverage he'd never tasted before. To the future, Captain, and to the species that taught us that the strongest victories are won without fighting. Above them, the stars shone down on a world that had just changed the course of galactic history. Not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the simple human ability to turn strangers into friends.